Hey everyone, welcome back. In the last video which we did, we got a few parts fitted, obviously the wheels, cranks, rear mudguard and rear rack. So in today's video what we'll be doing, like I said, we'll get front mudguard on, front brake with the front mudguard, apply the saddle, probably chuck on the gear shifter and lamp bracket. So yeah, well, what I'll do, I'll get the brakes on, we'll get cables fitted as well, which we can get on. So yeah, let's make a start. So in the last video, which I said about the front mudguard, I want to say thanks to David Bedford. David Wilkerson, he sorted it for me. He messaged me, says, "Oh, I know somebody's got a front mudguard." So thank you to you, buddy. And then obviously he got me in touch with David Bedford, which did give me a good price on a front mudguard. I don't know if it's re-chromed or original. It looks a bit like it's been re-chromed, but you can tell by the condition of it. It's not perfect, but it's a very good, clean mudguard, so I'm really happy with it. So it goes entirely with the bike. So what we'll do, get the front brake chucked on. I won't fully adjust the brakes up until I've got the handlebars back, because I've took a set to get re-chromed. So yeah, get cables and that chucked on. But saying that, I might just get the brakes on when the bars come back. We'll see how much time we've got in the video. So if you look at generally the Mark II, well Mark 1 as well, with the Mark II they tend to be a two-piece brake holder. Comparison to the Mark 1, it's a one-piece pad where it's got where the holders are basically. Normally on Mark 1s there is one piece. So these just hook on just behind the fork. So as you get that in, something to do, don't try to do it from the back, from the front, sorry. We go from the back, just going at a slight angle, slide that under. Then once you've done that, you just want to slide, I'll say that better, try and get them pads over. Oops. Be a bit tricky sometimes. Okay. We just got to get that over the rim. What I'll do, just get that there a second, get you a close up on it. So like I said, what you want to do, feed the mudguard from the back, get a slight tilt, slide that up, and that should just locate a bit of wiggling. Says that. Get that off for the time being. And we get these lugs just under the back. Okay. So this other side. I'll do this loosely. Don't scratch the paint. That pads the right way around. Just nip them up. No point tightening the pads up completely until I've got the brake cable on and everything adjusted up to suit. So there we go. Smart now though, doesn't it? Looking apart. Sound. So what we'll get on next. Got the gear shifter cover. Well, gear shifter in total. I've rebuilt this with some reproduction parts such as shifter pin, gear lever, and a gear knob. You can always purchase the parts off eBay. They do a slider kit. It's around about £25, £30. And then the gear shifter lever, they're about £12. And then reproduction gear knob, they're about £20. So if you're trying to do it on a bit of a budget, I know it's still expensive in the parts just getting them, but apart from that, it's looking good. And funny enough, this was off the blue one, which when I bought the bike, it was damaged. So I repaired it. It was actually snapped off clean there. Part was missing, so I've got a piece of plastic. Just you'll see just from behind. Swivel that around. So just got a piece of plastic which got off a rolling tray. So what I did, just obviously shaped it, put it behind, shaped it to that, then put a piece of plastic on the back, glued it, shaped it up again, got the shape on the very front part as well. And then I've done a satin black, painted it satin black just so it was all one colour. So what we'll do, we'll slide that in, we'll get the gear cable just into the, just there. There's a bit of controversial on which cable goes where on these, but I always prefer to put the gear cable through this one and then brake cable through the other. So it does sometimes make it a bit easier as well. Fitting the gear shifter, gear cover straight after, but you can always try to do it in one piece just as such as that. So when doing these, they do take a little bit of feckling to adjust. Make sure you've got these two bolts tight underneath, just so you haven't got it wiggling around and coming loose. So nut and a washer. And the same again, another nut and a washer. Okay. Slide the top out. Just make sure that's seating all the way nicely. Make sure it's sitting nice and equal on the top tubes. Okay. Still equal on them sides. We have it. And always remember, when you're putting the screws on underneath, if you're replacing them, just make sure your clearance is right, because if you put two larger nuts on the bottom, it can sit it higher. So just make sure you are sitting flush, because then the gear shifter sits flush upon the frame. So yeah, put that part on. What we'll do next, probably just get the fulcrum clip on. There we go, one fulcrum clip. And with these as well, just make sure you put them the correct way, because there's a lot of people who put them on the wrong bit. It's easy done, but if you look on the very top, your cable actually wants to be slotted into here, so then the cable comes out that side, into comparison to where some people put them in that way, run it out. So a lot of the time what makes this easier is if you slide it just underneath there, but I've already had the chain guard fitted. A lot of the time it's a bit easier to do it such as that, but you can always sprag it open a little bit and just slide it just round. And get the cable, sprag that open a little bit more. There we go. Make sure that cable's coming through them two pins, that's it. And don't completely tighten this down just yet. You'll leave it in second. And then just make sure you toggle chains all the way in and come back a little bit. Do that all the way down. Best thing to do with this as well, just go about halfway from there. Reason being, how's that got to? Reason being, about halfway, just then you've got a little bit of adjustment. You go all the way down, then you haven't really got much adjustment. So let's leave it in second. Apply some tension. About there. Tension, just check you can get into first. There we go, see how you got a bit more slack. Could do with getting this hub serviced as well, but just haven't had a chance just yet. But we'll get there. Tweak that a little bit. There we go. It sounds a bit dry. There we go. 3 gears. We'll get on next. Get the lamp bracket on, and then the top nut. Many will notice that's a Mark 1 top ring, top nut, sorry, and the Mark 2 slightly higher. But this one's more of a, what's it called? It's got a lip on the inside, which doesn't have it on the Mark 2, but I'll get one later down the line. But this one's in better condition, so I'll fit on Mark 1. Another thing, what that does as well is you normally have a ball bearing which goes on the back of the fork, and that really just holds the ball bearing in position. Whereas such as this, it hasn't got an area for where the ball bearing can go to, but with this one it does. So yeah, what we'll do, got a nice looking lamp bracket. It's on an original chrome, so and that's kind of what I'm going where with this. It's original chrome, but then some parts are re-chrome. So just wanted to go for a nice looking bike really, and it's had a respray, but at the end of the day, from how it looks finished wise, it does look the part. So that's what I'm going for. I'm not going for a show bike. I'm not going for such as an original bike, just one what just looks the part really, and that's it really. So I've dabbed a bit of grease on that. Okay. Get that up. Open that up enough. Okay. So best thing to do, don't wang it up tight. Best thing to do is check that moves. Come off ever so slightly with the top one. Reason being, when this compresses, it compresses that top one down. So just leave that loosely and then tighten the top part up. We'll just nip it up. We'll get it up to line when the bike's down on the ground with it for the bars. Sweet. So there we are up to now. We've got the gear shifter on. Okay. We've got the gear shifter on with all 3 gears, which is lovely. Could do with giving that a service. Next thing we'll get on next thing we'll put on is get the saddle on. Probably leave the brake cables till the handlebars come, and then we'll chuck the pedals on at the same time, and then that should be it. That's going to be a part of the complete build. So let's get the seat chucked on, wrap it up. So we'll go through the process of just how you put the saddle on anyway. Alright, so many as you know, when it comes to doing your saddle, if you've had it recovered, or you're just putting new parts on it, or just giving it a service, and well, giving it a clean over really. But yeah, well, I'd like to thank is Wayne Barker. He sorted me out with a nice saddle, which goes nicely on the build. So yeah, what we'll do first, so you'll put your bar through first, and if you're putting your back plate on, always just do it loosely, and then apply your screw on the very back. So first things first, you'll have two spacers, such as these. If anyone wants to know for a reproduction one of these, John Carter does these as a kit. So you get you get the whole bar which goes through the back, two spacers, two washers, and then two acorn nuts. The good thing about these, if you know, with the original ones, they're a three-piece bolt. So you'll have obviously the wobble washer, and then the nut what goes on the end, and then the cap will be pressed in. But with these, they're just a two-piece, so they're domed on the very top, as one with a bolt, and then you'll have a wobble washer as well. So at least, if not saying if your bike gets knocked as such, but if you over tighten that too much and you pop the cap off, and say if you brought new old stock, you end up having a bigger issue. And as well as these are quite close to the, well, I would say they're quite close to an original really, in comparison to something new old stock, and not having to pay new old stock money really. So the first things first, you slide them on. Just have it offset slightly first, because you'll see why I've done that. Again, it does reproduction sissy bars. So if you've got an old NAF one, and you don't want to go down the line of having one re-chromed, sometimes with the polishers, if there is good chrome platers out there, will do a high quality job. But if you're new to this, a lot of platers will end up just polishing this, and you'll have a lot of waviness. And in comparison to that, they could take too much metal off here, so when it comes to slide into the back of the frame, there'll be a bit of wiggle room. You can apply grease as such, but yeah. So what you do with that, obviously, I've put the sleeves on with the clamps, but when you do these, just make sure you put the sleeve, well, you put the clamp on just on the very top of the sleeve as far as it goes to clamps up. So just when you come to put the cups on, they sit in there nicely and they don't chirp around. If you've got them where the sleeves are too, well, more in the middle, they won't sit in there properly and they'll just sit offset. So what I'm going to do, slide that one side on, and this is why I've offsetted it, and you can just pull that straight over. And then you'll have two washers. So once you've done that, tap that over, and then you'll have, just make sure that's sitting equal as well. That's about right. So then what you want to do, just apply your washers. Make sure they're the right way around. And then once you've done that, tighten them up. Don't do them overly tight, because reason being, you've still got to offer it up to the bike, so you might have some adjustment you need to do. So just do them so they're nipped up. Don't need to be overly tight. And then obviously you come to put them on, and then again, John Carty can do springs as well. So if you're not going down the line of having everything re-chromed and you want to go new parts, he does, like I say, great reproduction stuff. So get them chucked on. So there's a lot of people on eBay. This is one thing I like showing to you guys, is like there's a lot of people out there on eBay selling stuff, and it's not, it's decent stuff, but if you're trying to comparison it to an original bike or trying to get it close to an original bike, you can see the difference sometimes. It's like even with mudguards. Obviously, with the one I'm building, you've got a Mark IV rear mudguard, but the shape's pretty similar to an original. It's not bang on, but it's quite the closest you'll get as a reproduction. But you'll see a lot of mudguards out there which have got the wrong shape, the wrong indentations, and it can put a bike out of its place. So that's like with this one, I've the only really, well, I know there is a few more reproduction parts, but into like comparison with parts from the blue one I built to this purple one, like the wheels are original Mark II, mudguard on the front's Mark II / Mark One, and then obviously there is other bits and bobs, but if you comparison it to original stuff, you wouldn't really notice. That's why I've done it at a fine line, trying to keep it so it's got the original aesthetic. Same as like with the saddle, I know it's got a tear on the side. I will try and repair that at some stage or just recover it, but it's original. So I've tried to do it where it looks more of an original bike. I know it's been repainted again as such, but at least it kind of does have the original look to it. So right, let's crack on. We'll get this chucked onto the bike, and then yeah, we'll come to a close. I'll see how much we've got left on the video. I might chuck the brake cables on and get them in situated, but we'll see where we're at. The bike's off its stand. Take the temporary seat post out at the moment. Well, not for the moment, but we're taking it off completely. So I do try to keep a couple of these seat posts just when it comes to painting them up. And then the day makes life easier. So what I tend to do when I've done these, I'll use an old seat post and then wedge a bit of cardboard in it, just so it doesn't move around when painting. So what we'll do next, we'll dab a bit of grease just down in the seat tube, not loads, just a little bit, and then obviously some on the top of it, just so at least then your sissy bar moves freely, so it doesn't trap up. Put a fairly nice amount in it, and then just a little bit down the seat tube. Doesn't need loads, just a little bit, just so we don't have no seizing up. So at the end of the day, it's steel on steel. Many will know when it comes to putting a steel an aluminium seat post in a steel frame, they're fused together. So what you want to do, try and do this. Ooh. You get your saddle, just hold it just up to where the springs are there. Line that side up. This is why I say you didn't want to tighten this spot too much on these sliders until everything gets into situ. I just want us to slide down there nicely. Okay. Make sure they sit nice enough where they need to. And the seat's going to be quite low on this because Mum's going to be using it, so make sure correct there. All right. Tighten the saddle down. Do it a bit more tilt so it's not too far forward. Okay. Like I say, leave a bit of gap on there just so you can get this seat adjusted up to suit. Side. Make that all nice and tight. Awesome. Looks good. So yeah, what we're going to do, leave it up to about there. We'll get the brake cables on when the handlebars come back. So yeah, come quite a far way now. It's starting to look more like a bike. Everything's set up into situ. So yeah, hope you all enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Mainly subscribe. Don't forget to put a comment. At the end of the day, helps with the YouTube algorithm. And yeah, get more of this content out there. It's at the end of the day, as generations go now, you're not really seeing much of these bikes. So at the end of the day, it's my generation. Well, not so much my. I'm not saying my generation, but it's my generation and a bit older than me, which are keeping these bikes alive. So yeah, at the end of the day, you like this type of content, not even if you're into rally choppers, just if you enjoy DIY or people building bikes or doing it yourself, really. It's a lot of this I've done myself, not so much like the chroming, but paint wise, I've painted up myself, laid the decals, and obviously built the bike up. So the only thing I haven't done is obviously chroming, but we haven't had much re-chromed on this bar the handlebars, which we'll be waiting for. So yeah, like I said, if you like this type of content, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share as much as possible. At the end of the day, I know all the guys out there enjoy this type of content, a part of the chopper scene. So yeah, it's like even with Dealer Mike and Paul Martin, they've been doing their YouTube video channels, which is good because at the end of the day, it gets more of these bikes out there. And Paul Martin's more into his rallies, and then same again with Dealer Mike, he's into his rallies and he's got other projects which he's doing. So it's great, keeps these bikes alive, keeps, yeah, I know I keep repeating myself, but hope you've all enjoyed anyway. Thank you very much for watching. And ring that notification button as well so you know for when the video gets posted out next for this. So thank you very much.